Hey guys and girls, welcome back. Have some vaporwave running in the background. Just keep myself motivated at 5 in the morning with my cup of coffee, of course. And today, I will be sharing with you another story, but this time from a hiring manager perspective. Yesterday, the last video, it was a true horror story about a candidate that went to school, was promised a dream, especially in cybersecurity, and it just didn't work out that way. The debt lingers over this individual because of the promise of completing a program, but if you stay in the program, get hired by the federal government or the government in general, that debt would go away. But unfortunately, because of all the different crises that was happening within the government shutdown, federal employees being laid off, and whatever the cause is, that contract still holds to that individual that went through the program and owes a lot of money. So today's perspective is from a hiring manager perspective, which I have done in the past. I have sorted through many resumes to find a good candidate to interview. I've gone through that process. I've even sometimes gone through processes of finding an individual for a position that may not have been a perfect match, but for some reason the resume stood out. And I've seen what resumes would stand out, and we would call these individuals in for at least a screening before the actual interview, sitting down with the other hiring managers or SMEs from the company. But before I continue, please hit that like, comment, subscribe. Well, actually, more importantly, just hit that like or even just subscribe. But that's the enough of my boasting. So I want to go over some of the details. Another individual from Reddit, from a hiring perspective, has detailed. I probably agreed to a good portion of it. Some of it I might not even have thought about, but it does bring relevance to all of this in this space, in this time of what everyone is going through. Only because we are challenged with these different scenarios that are happening day to day. Like, we don't know when the government may decide to shift everything away from certain tools or individuals or groups or whatever it is. We don't know how private sector is going to react to hiring or how they're going to hire moving forward from this point on because of certain new technologies or certain new things that are being developed or new processes. Things get fade out like they always do, and new things come in. And we're in this really specific transition period of things are being phased out, and you guys can see a lot of things being phased out already. Low-end programmers, developers, those are pretty much phased out, right? We have tools, we have resources now that are easily capable of replacing all those roles with just a few clicks or a few keystrokes, right? You don't have to program. I've never in my life, well, actually, I have. I'm going to take that back. I used to sit there. I had to used to sit there when I was first starting building web pages, right? And I'm sure some of you may be familiar with this. Building web pages in the past was very difficult. You had to know HTML. You had to write the damn HTML. You had to write out, basically typing out header, title, blah, and then start filling everything in. It was basically a source code for the web page. There was no drag and drop. There was no GUI of placing images into a frame and then saying, oh, this is, I just built a website. No, it was a lot more involved than what it is today. Now, you could just type a sentence and say, I want my website to look like Apple. I'm selling this service. And then boom, 5-6 pages of every area of the company, the about us, the what we do, the career page, the contact page, all that information is like in an instant. So That's what I mean by phasing out technology. Certain technologies get replaced with newer technology that is more efficient. What I used to have to do is probably work with a team of guys to build out this website because depending on how large it was very involved. There was a bigger project, there was more people. But now you can just do all that by yourself, one person sitting at home. And again, so let's dive a little deeper into this one. Just manually screened 200 applicants and what I learned. I'm going to interject every few sentences or whatever when I come into an agreement or just a discussion point. So let me just begin. I will start by saying I graduated college during the post 08 recession era. I have dealt with so much rejection in my career and some wins too that I believe in giving people a chance. I have definitely gone through that myself. I've been interviewing for as long as I can remember. I would say at this point, I am a interview whore. I've gone through hundreds and hundreds. I believe just last year alone, or within the last 2 years, I've probably gone through 50 interviews. Were some of them successful? Oh, yes, definitely. Guarantee was success. Did I come out learning a lot more than I did before I went into it? Hell yeah. Every time. Every interview is a stepping stone in my opinion. And I think there were plenty of other failures. I would say 90% of those were failures. 10% was success, and I landed a new role. So let's keep on going. How do we get experience with no experience? If this gentleman answers that, that would be amazing. My company is small, so I've been screening manually. No AI, just me. I read every resume. Before a time of AI's tools that were scanning resumes, I did that once too. And it was hundreds of resumes that I had to review. And it was very tiring because you just started looking for certain things. You were scanning every resume within a matter of like 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, this person has this has it. All right, we'll consider it. I'll like it, or I'll tag it, or I'll kind of highlight it to a point where I'll come back to it so I could do a deeper dive once I go through the other candidates or some of the other candidates. One of my roles asking for 6 years of experience for a specific reason. It requires someone pretty seasoned. It's not a role where I could take a bet and have someone start with no exposure. I've been through that before too. I've been told that I needed people that had some experience. We can't hire we can't and not afford time to hire someone that has no experience, even though we knew that we could train them up to the level that we expected this role to be. It's a higher cost. Not everyone's willing to entertain that. They want someone to be able to navigate easily once they start, which I don't blame a lot of companies for doing that, including even if I was running my own company. I probably would want someone to be able to understand the business, or at least been in it for a year or two. But to entirely have no experience is really difficult. That's the problem, right? So let's keep on going. I wouldn't want to set anyone up for failure. That is true, because even if I hired you and I said I gave you a chance and it just didn't work out because my management said, hey, this is not working out, that person is going to get let go pretty quick. Because remember, everyone who starts, even if you were new, even if you were ecstatic to start a new position, you had no experience, just remember, you're still on probation. That probation period could last 30 days, 60 days, a year. Okay? That means they could fire you at any time during that period because it's in the contract that they don't need a really valid reason to do so. So that is sketchy, isn't it, huh? But anyway, I used to get mad at this early in my career because I've always known I kick ass, but some people are stating they have skills that their resume doesn't back up at all, and that worries me. I've hired for entry level before and have helped people build up. But a few things I've learned here after my screens. Okay, so this is the juicy part. These are the bullet points that he's trying to point out. So let's go over those. And of course, I'll still interject. coffee. Out of 200 applicants, only about 70 were qualified to do the job. To be honest, reviewing 200 applicants and finding 70 is a huge number. To be really honest, to finalize to that level, and of course, I know within that it comes down a lot more. The reason for this is because only the cover letter lists the same skills as the role. The resume would give no evidence of any relevant experience. I am convinced and can tell when people are using or just have AI write the cover letter to match the role and not even include their own experience in the prompt. That would at least help. Third bullet point, resume formatting is crazy these days. I've seen 4 to 5 pages. Resumes come in. Okay, so regarding resume size, pages, I would keep it at 1.5 to 2 at most. And if you're going into like the 2 range, like filling up the entire 2, you're already pushing it. 1.5, 1.25 is typical. Start removing things that are irrelevant. Start removing things from the past that, is starting to date yourself with technology because it just has no relevancy anymore. You can leave the company that you worked for and maybe like a bullet or 2, but I've seen resumes where they had experience from like 10, 15 years ago and they're making it sound like they still work there because they have like, they will list it, present tense. A lot of things are very structured in a resume. And of course, this is some of the things that I go over with individuals who reach out to me about it is, your past is your past, so it's in past tense. Your current is your current, which is in current tense. So that's really key, right? And if it's in your current position in the current tense, make it more than what you did in the past. If it's current, this is what we're doing now. This is what we're doing today. This is what we're doing tomorrow. It's relevant for today's technology or today's work. We don't need to see 20 bullet points for something that you did 20 years ago or 10 years ago, because it's just like, okay, like, all right, you worked with, Microsoft Exchange servers, or like, if you would have kind of mentioned that, no one's going to ask you about that. No one's going to really care. So anyway, resume formatting plus the pages and the tenses really makes a huge impact, for me at least. Resumes with all skills listed in a left-hand column and more skills at the top are a bit too hard to follow. Yeah, I don't like columns in my resume. It's one section, your name, your contact information, right? Your summary, your experience, your skills, like one section after another. I cannot stand for the life of me having 2 columns or 3 columns. One column is like you have all this and other information, and then the main column you have like your experience and all that, and then some people would have a 3rd column. Too much congestion, too much to look at. The way I scan, people scan, it's like reading a page in a book, right? If you're reading a novel or a book or anything, or we're not reading comic books, so we're not going like constantly, zigzagging across different frames to read what's going on. When you're looking at a resume, it's from top to bottom. Your name, your summary, skill, all the way down, in a quick glance. Okay, all right. So we posted the salary, and good chunk of people were asking for 20 to 40K more. We all want clarity around this aspect, but it's not in your wheelhouse. Don't do it. Yeah, if a salary is already mentioned, you most likely would not be able to go over that, especially if you weren't even considered yet. Like as soon as, so here's one thing, when I was looking through the HR application, when all these resumes were coming in, we had it posted specifically with the salary, very specific salary, right? The range was like within $10,000-$15,000, right? Some individuals would submit their resume, and there's fields where you're like, you can enter in what you're expecting for salary, and some of these salary expectations were just above that salary that was being offered for that role. So instantly, I would ignore it, meaning I would not even consider that candidate because already I knew that that candidate is expecting more out of this position money wise before we even got to a discussion. You see what I'm saying? So it's it doesn't work in your favor. What has worked for me when I saw it though, when someone submitted, even though the field that would ask for a salary, some people would just put negotiable. And I'm like, oh, okay. So this person actually has consideration because I would take that individual, especially if the resume is a fit, right? So, of course, if the resume wasn't a fit, I don't care if you put negotiable. Some people would put a lower amount than what's being offered, which is fine as well. Those are all considered. But as soon as you put anything above what is offered, there's no way we can fight for that. We can't justify. And when I say we, I couldn't justify hiring someone for 120,000 when the role was only offering it for 90. So it was very difficult to bring someone in like that. And if they were understanding for that role and what was being offered, one, it actually tells me that you didn't even look at it or cared for what the salary for this position was, and you just decided to just put whatever you want, right? So, yeah, that's my observation as well. Some resumes feel like ChatGPT central. Use your own words. I can tell which ones are AI heavy. Yes, I have seen a lot of those in the past where AI descriptions for experiences just becomes like a run-on sentence. I've told many people, if you have sat with me, even people that I'm close with, like, not non-cybersecurity people, when you do bullet points, don't do crazy sentences where it becomes a double line. You just want it in a single sentence. I would say 8 to 10 words, and it's just exactly that, right? These are tasks. These are things that you did, not I did this, and this, and this is what happened, and this is why I did it. Or, we're not telling a story here. The storytelling is when you actually get to the interview. But before that, you're doing a sales pitch, marketing, right? Look at commercials, franchise commercials, McDonald's commercials. They don't need to say a lot, right? They come on TV and they go, right? And then, that's the jingle. So the jingle of this is that you need to just straight to the point. ChatGPT doesn't do that. ChatGPT gives you a whole freaking story. If you tell it that, oh, this was my experience, this is what I did at this workplace, it'll tell you a whole story. Like ChatGPT is known, like for some reason, I feel like it does better at storytelling than it's more practical, where like I need just straight to the point. Although you can prompt it to be more specific and straight to the point, and you tell it like, hey, write it like me without the fluff, and then see the difference. Okay. So my boss insisted I interview a man I had thought was not qualified. And after I did, went back to the resume, and I know why. He repeated an entire job posting in his cover letter, and this is super overly wordy. Yeah, I know. I have done that myself. I have worked with a manager where, hey, I feel like this person is great for this position. I'm looking at the resume. I look at the application. I'm like, how the hell and where did you see that? And I would just question it. But beyond my control, we get an interview with this guy. Does it always work out? Of course not. But everyone has their own preference for whatever the hell the reason is. Maybe they went to the same school. Maybe they lived in the same town. I have no idea. Can you question it as a employee working for someone else who's your senior in the role, and they say, hey, I want to interview this person? I'm not going to say no. I mean, I don't feel like it's my position. I'll voice my concern. I'll be like, are you sure? Like, this is not really what we're looking for entirely. And they go, no, he looks like a good candidate. I can't argue that, right? So either you want to get into a fight with your manager or just entertain the idea and see how it works out. unfortunately. For qualified people, I'm very tough. I'm in a very tough place right now. I want to hire them all, even if you aren't picked, and I feel let down. It's just as hard on the hiring manager. That is very true. I have come across many candidates that I felt like, oh man, we need this guy. Sometimes I've come across where we give an offers and the other person is like, nah, I accept it somewhere else. We were just too late. It's timing as well. And there's been other times where we, said, oh, we would love, to join, but the income didn't justify, right? When you find someone to fill a role, this person is good, right? And they are probably, it'll be harder to find someone again, which it is, because it takes a lot of time. If you know about hiring, it takes months, like 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. It could take on a whole year sometimes, if not even more. But when you do find someone and you get to the point where they go through these rounds and then they start kind of negotiating, right? Oh, I need this and that. I mean, some of them are not like extreme, but most of the time it just comes down to how much, right? What the benefits look like. Some people just don't like the benefits. Your healthcare sucks, right? Where's your dental? Where's all this and that? Your vacation day, you only give 10 days, Some organizations hide all that information up until the point where you're actually hired. Some organizations, I have experienced, give you all of that before you even sit through an interview, just so you can decide if it's even worth your time or not. I love those. I love the ones that just, hey, this is how many vacation days you're going to get. This is our benefits package. This is what it looks like. This is how much you'll be paying. I don't want to sit through a whole interview process, 3-4 rounds, and then come back and say, what? I have to pay $1,000 in health benefits each month out of my paycheck? Hell no, I don't want to come here, So I've seen those. It has happened. I'm not sugarcoating anything, but those are the challenges. I mean, everyone has their preferences on who they want to work for and what benefits that would benefit them, basically. What does your retirement package look like? What does your, sick leave days look like? It comes down to a lot of things. It does come down to a lot of things. Not always just how many extra dollars we can get out of this. So, at the very end, I'm also very grateful for the time each person is giving me and have been in their shoes. So, yes, lengthy video, but I think it's worth it because you guys are here to understand the other perspective of hiring someone, not the candidate. This is the hiring manager. I have done it. I have gone through it. I used to be, my CISO from another position in the past was like, hey, I need you to go through these resumes. And I'll just sit there all day. I would probably allot like a good 3-4 hours, throughout the day, and just sourcing through resumes. And because we didn't have the tools at that time to do it. And my boss at the time, he didn't want to do it. I mean, he'll look like, oh, 1-2 candidates and that's it. Trust me, for a large organization that I was working for, when the CISO asked you to look through these resumes, you had hundreds. We had guys, that were plumbers applying. Like, what is, I'm looking, we had plumbers, we had non-technical people apply. Like, do they even realize what the hell they were applying for? Or are they just applying just for the sake of applying, right? Because that's how desperate everyone seems to be. No matter what time in the economy, we're not just talking about 2025. Every year had its challenges of hiring people. That's just the nature of the business, right? Because let's just say 2026 could be the best economic year for the entire world. There's still going to be challenges hiring, because people either lie on their resume, they expect more money, Companies, oh, you're looking for unicorns. It's hard. I'm not going to say it's easy for whether you're the candidate or the hiring manager, but the balance eventually comes out, right? Their salaries are going to be reasonable. You're going to be expected to perform a certain amount of duties for this role. Hiring manager is going to understand that we can't always find everyone that we want to fill a specific criteria or a skill. Some candidates, whoever's available at that time, may fit 80% of it. And I think that would be sufficient, right? So I just wanted to share all that with you. This is one of those videos. And of course, I'm hoping that it helps along the way to understand it a little bit more. I gave some tips and, things about what to do on your resume, how to approach it, why maybe I probably highlighted why you're not even getting responses now, depending on how you answer applications when you apply for the role. Okay. So remember, again, I'll just remind you, like if you're applying for a role that says, salary range is from 75 to 90, and you put, I'm expecting $100,000, you're going to get ghosted in my opinion, at least. It doesn't matter how great you are, right? You could be that one unicorn, but you're asking for 100,000, but the role doesn't offer that much. So there you go. Thank you guys again, guys and girls. Appreciate your time. Please, do your thing below with this whole YouTube stuff. And I'll see you guys again really soon. Take care.